Todd Castledine put out an absolutely awesome video. Why do the pros catch more fish on your local lakes? And he absolutely nailed it, dude. Go check that video out. I'll put a link to it in the card so you guys can go check it out. But I wanted to throw in my 2 cents because it really hit home for me. And it's something that I've been experiencing, and I think it's something we all experience, especially in spring. Like 2 weeks ago or so, I was catching a ton of fish, pre-spawn, chatterbaits. You saw the mini chatterbait videos, hard baits, frit side, spinner bait, even an A-rig and a swim bait. These fish were very pre-spawn. They were very setting up and even staging mid-depths, 4 to 8, 5 to 8, maybe down even to like 3 to 5, And then all of a sudden in a 24-hour period, that bite absolutely disappeared. And I kind of consider myself sort of fresh to the area. I moved to North Alabama, like 4 years ago. So I'm still learning because I really try to, I go to Smith Lake, I go to Gunnersville, I go to Wilson, I go to Pickaway, really spread myself out to try to get a feel of what's going on. And it definitely slows down the learning process, but in a way that sort of ignorance that I have helps because I don't have many preconceived notions either. And I also know my strengths. And one of my biggest strengths is sight fishing. I really love sight fishing. Coming from Florida, we do a ton of sight fishing, but the sight fishing is really an expanded time of year. Basically, I always tell everybody who asks me about Florida, the fish have 2 seasons in Florida, spawning and not spawning. So it's pretty straightforward. Whereas when you get into the more temperate climates like Alabama, like up north, it's very seasonal and you get hard transitions between the seasons. You always have fish dangling in certain seasonal patterns, but for the most part, things do change on a dime, and that's especially true in spring when you get that variable weather. So what actually happened to me, and it has a lot to do with this guy right here, that's actually a boxer crawl. It's my buddy Jacob Wall's design, and he is actually some of the inspiration for this video as well. And I think one of the things the pros do, and I'm no #pro, I'm an angler, I love to fish, I get out as much as I can, but one thing that I've learned from Jacob, and I'm starting to learn for myself, is the ability to transition on a dime. These fish do it. They'll go from doing one thing to the next with immediacy, within 2 hours, on the same day sometimes. And the one thing that I've noticed, especially in fishing a lot with Jacob, is his ability to transition and change what he's doing, change the entire mindset of the day's pattern or what we know thus far about the fishing and what's happened, literally like that. And that adaptability, I think, is key. And let me tell you a little story as to why it's so important and why it's such a hot topic for me right now. I was catching all those fish pre-spawn, mini chatterbait, fritz, whatever, hard baits, They're moving up. All of a sudden, one day, and what's funny is the weather didn't even change that dramatically, didn't get super warm or anything. It gradually kind of warmed up. I think one thing is we had slightly warmer nights, but all of a sudden these fish are gone, right? And I'm out there on like stuff that I'm like, dude, there were tons of fish here. I was catching them, shooting videos, having a blast, getting tugged on, and they're gone. Like, what the hell happened? So one thing that I think that I struggle with is making that transition because I'm trying to shoot videos for you guys, understand some patterns, go in-depth into patterns, and it takes a lot of commitment to those patterns in order to shoot all the footage and get the video that you need. So changing on a dime is difficult. And what I did is I'm like, what? If these fish were out, we've had halfway stable weather, maybe it's not super warm, I wonder if they moved up. So what I did is I literally went from fishing those outer depths to getting super skinny, like super duper skinny, like dirt skinny, like the old ghost was kicking up dirt. And I didn't see anything for a little bit. I'm like, dude, they gotta be here. Started trolling, went into another creek, and then all of a sudden, sand spot, and there's males everywhere. Now, what's really interesting about this too is it wasn't going off, it wasn't happening everywhere. I had to go find it because I knew something that I was doing was wrong. Like the fish that I was catching were gone. Something has changed. And I think that's one of the big things too that some of these pros do is they recognize something's different. And instead of it being in the back of your head like, I think something's changed, it's something's different, I need to make a change. And so I committed to making that change, dude. and all of a sudden there were bedfish everywhere. And then I started dialing it in. You know, I'd get dirt shallow. I'd see guys fishing kind of at the mouths of pockets, you know, casting around, catching one here or there. And I would literally, they probably thought it was a dake too, because I would go and around them with my trolling motor. I tried to be kind of subtle, but I'd go around them and I'd go another 100 yards back in, dude. And then all of a sudden I'd drop my poles and I wouldn't leave for 45 minutes. And they were looking at me like I was absolutely crazy. And basically what I would find is pods of bedfish. It was those same pods of pre-spawn fish where you find them in a little group on, say, like a creek channel, on a ditch, maybe on some submerged grass, on a point or something. Literally that group had said, hey, our time has come. We need to transition and shift in and get on those beds. And dude, it was absolutely insane. When you'd find one, there was like 25 of them. Now, granted, when you'd see one, sometimes it's not always easy to see these fish. You had to be slow, subtle. We're actually going to do a little sight fishing video where I'm going to break down how you guys actually find, capture, and really trigger those bedfish to bite, because it is a tricky process. And when you do it right, it's some of the most fun one-on-one and big fish fishing that you can experience. But it really embodied exactly what Todd was talking about, more in a sort of specific manner. And it really sort of embodied what Jacob always shows me, that ability to transition. It has a lot to do with not having preconceived notions, but it also has to do with, if not this, then this. Because the reality is, fishing isn't math. It's not linear. It's not, you know, you can't go and do a bunch of math problems and come up with the pattern of the day. But there is some form and some structure to the way fish behave. They have a seasonal pattern that generally holds true. There's nuances for each lake when it comes to depths, types of cover, water clarity, all those kinds of things, bait color. But the reality is they all follow a certain set of general rules, and those general rules dictate their location, and that can change. So for instance, like we're on Smith Lake, we're in the back of a pocket. This is a perfect spawning area. In Florida, those fish will spawn like right on the main lake on grass points and stuff like that, or on the grass edges, or just behind the grass line. You'll be right next to the main lake, waves rolling 3 foot, and there they are on a bed. So you have to sort of adapt that concept to each body of water, because each body of water in each region is different. But that ability to adapt, I really think sets, not only, we always talk about pros, hashtag pros, you know, not even pros, but a good angler versus a great angler. That ability to adapt on the dime, to really make a change, it takes faith, it takes experience, and it takes a confident mindset in believing that you know what's going on, you know what can be going on, and you're willing to make that change and that transition because you're open-minded enough to nail that. But I just wanted to take a second because literally Todd embodied exactly what's happened to me over the past 2 weeks. I went from a pre-spawn pattern to all of a sudden, bang. I'm fishing beds, I'm seeing bedfish everywhere, and a lot of the bass boats, a lot of the anglers that I'm seeing are 100 yards outside me going, what is that guy doing? Way up there, dirt shallow. I'm literally kicking up dirt, getting shallow, and finding groups of beds that are literally the groups of pre-spawn fish that I was fishing 2 weeks earlier. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Shout out to Todd Castelline. Great video, man. Absolutely nailed it, dude. Very cool, very good presentation. Hope you guys enjoyed this little add-on. Hit that like and subscribe button if you did. It's right down there. Support grassroots fishing like me and Todd. We'll see you next time back out on the water, talking fishing, hopefully talking about some spawning fish.